I'm going to start the learning sponsors, gentlemen. Year of Learning, Friends of Malaskotsky, Moshe Zelig Ben Mordechai. It happens to be his Yortzeit. Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife, Malka Chana Bat Pinchas. Friends of Herb Jeremiah Tzvi Ben Zev. Friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov. Friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir. Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef HaKohen. Those who were inspired by our Rebbetzin Emerita Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Esther Malka Bat Meshulam Yisachar, Gail and Leslie Kaplan in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinza Bat Yosef Chaim V'Chava, Chanan Ben Moshe Eliezer V'Chana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Halevi V'Tzipora, Isra Ben Yoel Moshe HaKohen V'Chana. Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutta Bat Meir, Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim, Marsha Brana in memory of her husband, Rav Yerachmiel Ben Shmuel, friends and family of Arthur Ritholtz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Leib HaKohen, Month of Learning by Charlie Gelfenstein, in memory of his mother Dacia Gilbert Meir Halevi, also Charlie Gelfenstein in memory of his father Meir Ben Yaakov, Ruvain and Susan Podolsky in memory of his mother Fredel Bat Shraga Feivel, B. Pizer in memory of her sister Rivka Bat Avram Michal Halevi, a week of learning by the friends of Bernie Krutz on the occasion of his second bar mitzvah. There is no individual days of learning for today. Hashem is having a Aliyah, Crank Yeshia, Velti Yeshia, Sharma Tzliah, Open Israel, Big Convention.
So we are going to start on Daf Chaf Vav Amud Beis. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 lines from the bottom. A few days ago on Daf Yazayin Amud Beis, we had a query. What was that? We didn't know. We know there's a rule of Chetzi Nezek Tzroros. There's a rule that when the animal damages something by its force, it pays half damages. When, of course, an animal damages with its body, then it pays the damages that it has to pay accordingly. Rava had a query. He didn't know when, let's say, the animal stepped on a keli, which normally we pay full damages for, but the keli's like squirted out and broke in a different place. So now we don't know. Should we follow the beginning and he pays full damages, like damage done by the body, or should we follow or should we follow the end, or should we follow the end and we say what? It's a kocho, it's a strength, and you pay half damages of stones. So that was the query. The Gemara then was surprised and said, "Listen, they quoted almost our Gemara today, which we're about to look at." They said, "What do you mean? Everybody knows that. Didn't Rabbah tell us that if the guy threw something, a keli, off the roof that was going to break, and somebody before it hit the ground took a baseball bat and smashed it, listen, that the smasher is exempt, and who has to pay? The guy who threw it off. Why? Because he's saying monotamatri, he broke something that was already broken. So you see clearly that we follow the beginning and not the ending. Where I said you're right, that was Rabbah. He was sure, but Rabbah wasn't sure. Today, when we look at Rabbah, the case is slightly different, but really, according to Rashi, it comes out to be the same. Okay, right. You see it about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines from the bottom. 8 from the bottom, and you'll see Amar Rabbah. So now he says almost the same case, but it's not. It is, but it isn't. Amar Rabbah, he said, Zorak Klimirosh Hagag. Okay, here he says a guy threw the keli from the top of the roof. Then somebody else broke it before it hit the ground. He broke it with a stick. Potter, the one who did the stick, is exempt. But you notice why? Because he broke something that was broken. But look at what's the problem. How come we didn't say that the guy who threw it was obligated, like we said before? So you notice, according to Rashi, therefore it's clearly, it has to be that the owner himself threw it down in this case. But it's really the same thing. The only reason that the guy who threw it is not obligated because it's the owner, it's his own thing. So we're not going to charge him for damages. It really is the same point of the way Rashi learns it. Other people argue. Amar Rabbah, another case, okay? Amar Rabbah, another case. Zorak Kli Mirosh Hagag. Okay, if a guy threw, no, that's the next one. You're ahead of me. You had one. You went ahead. Amar Rabbah, Zorak Kli Mirosh Hagag. A second case. Okay. If he threw a utensil from the top of the roof, and then maybe I told you the wrong line. And then underneath there were pillows underneath. There were cushions cushions underneath. So now what? It wasn't going to break. Okay, and now and somebody pulled it away. Okay, afilu or even if the person himself who threw it came down and pulled those pillows away, Potter, what the one who pulls it away is exempt. My timer. Now remember we learned earlier. Remember we had a case. Even when we said we said a fire is really the strength, is really the body of a man. He's doing the job with the fire. But we said, for example, if a guy lights a fire and there's a wall around, so the wall's going to stop the fire from going out. We say what? There we say because his strength is stopped. Why? It wasn't really a case of his strength of his fire because the fire wasn't going to get out. And the same thing over here. When this guy threw it down, since the cushions were there, he didn't do anything. You can't put the onus on him. But rather what? Okay, you can't put the onus on him. And what about the guy who pulled the cushions away? The person who pulled the cushions away, okay, we're going to say simply, this is the locus of gigantic argument. We're going to say what a simple rule of what grama b'nezikin pater. When a person does damage in a zikin without touching the thing, it's indirect. Okay, he pulls the pillows. He didn't touch. There's many definitions of grama, but grama is an indirect action. He didn't touch the utensil that broke, but he managed to pull the pillows away and the utensil broke. He's exempt. Now you should know Rashi said that even if the guy who threw it, okay, pulled the pillows away, okay, no, in here we're talking about a guy who threw somebody else's thing. Okay, Reuben threw Shimon's things down, and Levi pulled the pillows away. But it could even be that Reuben threw Shimon's thing down, and Reuben then changed his mind. He said, "You know what? I don't want to break it," and he jumps down and pulls the pillows away. Even so, he's exempt because the same rule applies. However, listen to this: if I forget how we know, but if when he threw it down, he intended to pull the pillows away, then he'd be chayav. That's a different case. If when he threw it down, he intended to pull the pillows away, then he'd be chayav. Yes, but our case is he pulled the pillows, he set the pillows down, and he changed his mind. So therefore, he can play both roles at once. Okay. So again, the thrower is exempt because at the moment that he threw it, he didn't really do anything. It wasn't going to break. And the puller awayer is exempt, not because even though he did do it, but he did it as an indirect action. And at grama b'nezikin, the way we're learning grama b'nezikin, indirect action and damages is exempt. But Amar Rabbah said another thing. Now we're sorry if I fooled you. Zorak tinik b'roshagat. Let's say a guy threw an infant off of the roof. Then somebody else caught the baby, okay, on a sword. Now we have a famous argument by Rehuda ben Beseira and the rabbis. What is the argument? Because when the pasuk talks about murder, it says V'ish ki yaka kol nefesh adam mos yamus. Anybody who smites kol nefesh adam mos yamus. But the problem is, what is kol nefesh? Kol nefesh means the whole soul. So what does it mean? What does that mean? Kol can mean in Hebrew? Kol can mean all, and kol can mean any. Kol can mean any. Kol can mean all, or kol can mean any. Kol misha, anybody who does this, or all who do it. You see, in English, it's a little more subtle, but in Hebrew, it's any or all. Any could mean a small part. You see what I mean? And kol means all the parts of you that we can read. All is all the parts, and any. So now, what's the machlokas of the rabbis and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira? So the famous argument is like this: that according to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, means what? When you say kol nefesh, you mean what? Even any part, any part of the soul. Even if you take a little bit of a person's soul away, that's enough to be obligated for killing them. You didn't have to take the whole soul. As long as you took the last little bit, that's it. Kol nefesh. The rabbis say no, kol nefesh. You have to take the whole soul away. You have to kill the whole person. Now, let's say you divide a person's soul into 9/10. According to the rabbis, you have to take all the 9/10. Even if you took the last 10th, you're not a murderer. According to Yehuda ben Beseira, no. As long as you took the last 10th, you're a murderer. Kol nefesh, any amount. Okay, so now we're going to see it. And so we're going to see in a second that argument applies to our case of the person catching the baby. Remember, the person threw the baby. So I'm going to show you one. I'm going to show you right now. We're going to see it, but it's simply like I said. We're going to see an example in 1 minute. But it means imagine if we're going to see in 1 second. But let's say one guy takes a 10th, another guy takes a 10th, another guy takes a 10th. We're going to see this. We're going to see an example right. Yeah, right. You're going to see an example right now. Yes. You're going to see an example right now. It's coming up. So that's the argument. He says, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, hey, you take the last tenth, you killed him. The rabbi said, no, you have to take all the 10 tenths. Let's see the example inside. Okay, why? So he says, the Tanya, because we learned in a Brisa, he called us our b'nei adam basar maklos. 10 guys hit a guy with 10 sticks. Okay, here's the example. Okay, bein b'vasechos, whether they all hit him at once. Bein b'zachazer, even if 1, 2, 3, 4, they hit him in order. Okay, Turin. And all, so the last guy who hit him was when the guy died. They're all exempt. Who's that? That's the opinion of whom? Of the rabbis. Why? According to the rabbis, you have to kill somebody all by yourself. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseirome, he says no. He says if they hit one after another, Achron Chayev, the last guy's obligated. Why? Because he took some. He took the last little bit. He's Chayev. Okay, why? So he's the one ultimately who brought close his death. He's the one who killed him. That's the famous. There's other ways to learn it, but that's the simple machlokas. So the same thing over here. When a guy threw the baby off the roof, the baby was gone. Now what? The guy caught it on the now the guy caught it on the sword. So what do we say? Yeah. So now the question, okay. So therefore the question is, so now according to Yehuda ben Beseira, who's the final guy who brought the death close? The sword guy. So he pays. He was the last little bit. But according to the rabbis, what? Since the thrower, the guy who threw off, was also a partner. You don't have partners in murder. 2 guys kill a guy at once, according to the rabbi. And some people learn, by the way, what I just told you. Some people learn from a different pasuk. It has to be 1 guy and not 2 guys. Yes.
First, if you start Chila,
Yeah.
then the dropper is Chayev.
Yeah, it's as though it,
When the baby, if essentially died when he fell.
But since it didn't die in the end until the guy caught on the sword, you have to say that the sword guy was Makar. He was the guy who finally brought the death. No, who brought the death close. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He should send him flowers. He should send him flowers.
but isn't there a secret that the minute he threw him down, it's like he died already?
We're saying that, but you can't deny. You're right. But you can't. But you can't. But you can't deny in our case that in the final analysis, the facts are that the death actually came from the sword. You can't get out. You're right. Okay, good. Okay, Rabbosai in yeshivas, people don't get off of this page. People don't leave this page in yeshivas. You know, there was one Hasidic rabbi, so they found him every single day. He's learning the same page. Day after day, if it's a month passes. So one of the Hasidim comes to him and they say, Rebbe, you know, I don't mean to be disrespectful. Shouldn't you turn the page? He says, yes. He says, so why don't you turn the page? He says, because it's so nice here. He says, this is a favorite. Everybody loves this page. Okay. Furthermore, another case like this. Now, this question is only according to one of the opinions we had before. And the next question is according to the opinion of Yehuda ben Beseira, that it's the guy who does the last drop, because you can be higher for the last drop as long as you're the last guy. So we want to know, we say like this. Let's say in the same case, the guy threw the baby off of you, who bore shore, okay, and then an ox that was already a goring ox, a muad, the kiblo b'karnav, and it caught it on its thorns. Now he said when the sword guy, according to Yehuda ben Beseira, is Chayev. Now we still, even according to Yehuda ben Beseira, this is going to be still dependent on a different machlokas. Why? Because what is that? The plukta Rabbi Yishmael b'noshe v'Yochanan Rabbanan. This is dependent on another argument of Rabbi Yishmael b'noshe v'Yochanan and the rabbis. Why? Because we learned the following. We keep mentioning this. Is the first time we actually seeing it. We mentioned it. The Tanya, because we learned the Brisa. The Nosan pidyon nafsha. We know that when a goring ox kills a man, the owner has to pay pidyon nafsha, has to pay an atonement or a redemption for his soul. But whose soul? We don't know what the antecedent of nafsho is. Okay. So he's one of what the rabbi's opinion is what the main nizak. You pay the price of what of the guy who got killed. Okay. Rabbi Yishmael b'noshe v'Yochanan the main nazik. No, you pay the value, the price of the damager. So the same thing over here, it's going to be what? So therefore, according to the rabbis, the way we say what? That the kofar is paid is. So we want to know now, in other words, does the ox who caught it, when the ox caught the baby on its horns, does the owner pay kofar or not? According to the rabbis, okay, that you pay the damagee. In this case, the baby was going to die, okay, it has no value, there's nothing to pay. But according to Rishmael, who says you pay the price of the damager, okay, so then there's gonna have to pay his own value.
Could it be that the sword and the animal passing by is like Groma ben Sikin?
Yeah, it could be. But remember over here, groma. Groma. No, here's why. It's not a groma because remember I mentioned to you a utensil cause is not called a groma. Remember, in other words, I can't go. If I went to I shot a guy, say judge, I didn't do it. The gun did it. Say if I stab a guy, I can't say judge, I didn't do it. The knife did it. A utensil, a keli, what's called siba kelis, a cause breathing. It's like the man himself. That's the rule. And this is why I told you that you should. And you think I'm making it up? I'm telling you, in the modern world, is a crazy world. It's a crazy world. People believe that if they did sins, it's going to be fine. Because if God didn't want it, wouldn't have happened. Then they're going to be fine. I know you think I'm telling you. People say it today. They're crazy. They say, listen, if God didn't want me to sin, I wouldn't have sinned. As if it's not my fault. It's wrong. Why is that? Because your body is the same thing as a gun in your hand. You're right. Without God's blessing, you can't move a hand. God should give everyone life and health. If God wouldn't let you, couldn't move your hand. So now if I hit somebody with my hand, it's God's fault. The answer is your body is a siba kalis, just like a gun in your hand. Your body is like a gun in the hands of your free choice. As long as God makes your body work, you're responsible. That's why. So you have to. That's not. So we again, a siba kalis, a utensil cause has no excuse. It makes that's you. That's you. We don't say such a thing. Okay, good, very good. Okay, now. Furthermore, okay, Amar Rava is a case like this. A guy fell off the roof and he fell right into a woman and had intercourse with her. Now, obviously, this is very important, not intending to have intercourse, even if he was aroused, but he didn't intend to have intercourse with this woman. Yeah, he didn't intend to have intercourse with this woman. It could be very important. You'll see why. So one, if he hurt her, he has to pay for 4 things, but not for 5. Which one's missing? Busha. He doesn't have to pay for embarrassment. Why? It'll be. He doesn't have. You're going to see in a minute. It'll be Yavimto. Okay. We're going to pay for 4. Yavimto. If she was his Yavama, now no kana, he doesn't know when that's the problem because the rule by Yivam, a person doesn't even have to intend to have intercourse with this woman. If a guy intends to have intercourse and he doesn't even know that this is his Yavama, she still becomes his wife. It doesn't matter. But there's a difference. There's a difference between not intending to have intercourse with this woman or not intending to have intercourse. When a guy intends to have intercourse but not with this woman and he lived with his Yavama, he is married. But if a guy never intended to have intercourse, he's not married. So since this guy didn't intend to have intercourse with her, okay, they have intercourse, period. He fell into her. So he's not going to her. Okay, however, but what's the 4 things he's obligated for? You notice he's only high for 4 out of 5. He's high benezek, he has to pay the devaluation. Tsar, the pain he caused her. Ripoy, the doctor bills. Sheves, the sitting idle. Aval Boshes Lo, he doesn't pay for embarrassment. Why? And Ochayav Boshes Lo. Why? The Tanakh, because you learn, and Ochayav Boshes Sajay Miskaven. A person has to have intention to do damage in order to be obligated on embarrassment, and he certainly didn't here. Other damage you pay without intention, but for embarrassment, you need to have intention. Lama Rabbi says more. A guy fell off a roof in an abnormal wind, so it really is an accident. Okay, it's not normal. He wasn't expected to know about it. The Hazik Ubiyish, and he damaged and he embarrassed his friend in the way he hit him. Chayev al Nezik, he has to pay for the devaluation. Upater ba'arba dvarim, but he's exempt from all the other 4 things of all the normal extras. Why? But why is that? Because all those things have to be with a person purposely, intentionally damaged. No, it's devaluation you pay whether you wanted to or not. But the extra 4 you have to have wanted to damage.
Purposely jumped off the roof on her?
No, the opposite. It's the opposite way. The other one he didn't. He got blown off. So therefore he didn't intend. He never intended to. No, he's not chayiv on the 4. That's what I'm telling you. He's here.
He's chayiv on the 4 except for Boshes.
No. Here, no. Here, no. That was the previous one. That was the previous case.
Previous case.
Yeah.
So basically, he did it on purpose. Then on the previous case.
In the previous case, yes, I'll tell you why. Yes, I'll tell you why. You're right. I'll tell you why. Because it's enough since it was a normal wind. It's his fault for going up there. You're right. In the normal wind, it was a normal wind of the This one is an abnormal wind. That was a normal wind. It's like it's his fault.
Accident, that wasn't
exactly. Yes. And if I wasn't clear, I'm sorry I didn't emphasize. You're right. That's right. You said right. Okay, good. So now it's clear. Yeah, good. Okay, good. So now, so the only thing, but Baruch Mitzuya, but let's say he fell off in a normal wind. Now, okay, a normal wind, the Hizik Kubish, then if he damaged and he embarrassed, hi Barbara Dwarm, they asked to pay. Why? Because it's his fault. He did it right. Upater alaboshes, but he's he's only four, but not all five. He's not obligated on boshes. Why? Because there you still need enough to say an intention to embarrass. But let's say as the guy was falling, he decided to twist himself so he could fall into the person, be more comfortable. He'll fall into the guy. That's enough to make him also. That's enough intention. He really decides to fall on the guy, then he's obligated also what for the embarrassment. The Tanya, because we learned that's enough intention. As long as you intend to do the act, that's enough to call it intention. Enough intention for.
With a small wind, it doesn't intend to fall off.
No, here he twisted in the middle. He intended. Here he intended.
On the first case.
No, it's as far as we're concerned, with a normal wind, it's his fault. He shouldn't have gone up there. It's like he did it. Yeah, that's the point. But over here now, here's the famous case. Where do we learn embarrassment from? So a woman in the whole story, whatever it is, people are fighting. She grabs that and she grabs a man by his privates. Okay, so that's embarrassment. That's the payment for embarrassing a person. But you'll notice the language is very strange in the pasuk. The Tanya, because the pasuk says, "Mimashma shenema v'sholcha yodah." At first it says what? That she sent out her hand, but the pasuk continues. We didn't see the end. And she took hold of this person's private. So he says, "What? You already told me she sent out her hand. You could have just said she sent out her hand to his private. So what do you mean she sent out her hand and took hold? Why do you have to have an extra word?" The answer is, why do you have to say what she took hold of? Once you intend to do damage, okay, that's enough. Once you intend to do damage, even though you intend to embarrass per se, see, you're ready. That's enough. That's called intention for embarrassment, and you have to pay. Furthermore, if a person put a coal on another person's chest, okay, and the guy got burnt and he died, Punter. He's obviously he's not the guy who put the coal is not going to be killed. The guy should have taken it off. He's a human being. He should have taken it off. I'll big though. But if he put a coal in his friend's garment, the nisraf, and the garment burned up, chayiv. Now he has to pay. Okay, why is that? What do you mean the owner could have taken it off? The answer is why do you take? Because the owner says, listen, I know that if he burns my thing, he's gonna have to pay me, so I don't have to take it off. Tough luck. He don't have to take it off. So for the murder, the guy's not responsible. The guy should have protected himself. But for the garment, he does have to pay. Amar Rabba.
If he doesn't take it off the garment and then he dies anyway.
Wait. No, it's not. But there are two different cases. Wait, there are two different cases. One case is it doesn't mean the clothing on the guy. It means he put a coal. He put a coal on the guy's clothing. So even though the guy could have taken it off, no, it was two separate cases. Amar Rabba says. Tarvayu, okay, Tanani. There's actually both of these laws, okay, that Rabbah said, is where he said, both of them, we learned them in a Mishnah. Alibo, the case that when a guy puts a coal on another guy's chest, that he's not obligated for murder. It's not. If a person submerses a person into the fire or into the water in such a way that the person can't get up, and he can't get up from there, umeis, and the person dies, chayav. In such a case, he's obligated. That's called murder. But if you just pushed him into the fire or into the water, and the guy has the prerogative to get out, umeis, and he dies, potter, then the guy with the pusher is not obligated because the guy should have saved himself. Okay. However, on the other case, big though, but the case where if the guy put it on the coal, that we said what now that the coal putter on the garment has to pay. It's not because we learned cross susi shvaz kadi. Two famous cases. The guy says, "Here, rip my suit. You break my keli." Even though the guy said it, okay. Even though the guy said it, now the guy ripped his suit. Chayiv. This guy still has to pay. Why? Because he can say, "Listen, when I said rip my suit, here, Bakasha, you want to rip my suit and pay for it? Go ahead. Knock yourself out. You want to, but says the Gemara further, bro. So but even though he gave him permission, it doesn't mean that he's not going to take him to court. But if he says, tear my coat or break my thing, I'm not sliftor, on condition that you be exempt, potter, now he's actually exempt. By Rabba asked this question. By Rabba asked this question. What happened now? And this is a famous problem. If he put the coal on the heart of the slave, now the slave we had a problem because the slave on the one hand obviously is a human being with a mind. On the other hand, the slave is somebody's property. That's the way it works. That's what the Torah says. So now, we don't know what's the law. The slave did not save himself, and now the slave's dead. does the putter of the call have to pay the owner or not? Kegufo dummy, do I say, look, it's like his body and it's like anybody else, and therefore, what obviously he should have saved himself, he didn't. Goodbye, Charlie. He's not obligated. Oh, come on, dummy. All right, look at it. Come on. The fact is, he is somebody's property. Okay, and it's like his coat. Even if you want to say no, it's like a body, but still, I say what a shora. What then? I see the same case. What if you put the coal on the ox, and the owner was there and he didn't take the coal off of the ox? Mo, what's the law? Okay, Mo, what's the law? Okay, but that one he solved. The pashta he solved it himself. What? Because he said Abdu Kagufo. The facts are that a slave is like a normal body and he's exempt, and shoro kumamono, an ox is like anybody's money, and the person would be obligated. Adon Allah, Keitzad Regel.
What if the slave is ready to be redeemed right away? As long as it's a slave.
I think as long as that moment, I don't think it makes sense. Okay, now that's a good question, but that's not the question of this Gemara. But you're right, you can't do things like that. And you should know, by the way, that we have even in Shechita, and these things, even in Shechita, wherever we can, we expect people killing animals, which we're allowed to do. It's fine you're allowed to kill animals and eat them. So once Noah took all the animals on the ark, God gave us all the animals. We're allowed to kill them. It's fine. You're allowed to kill animals. It's not a problem to eat them. But wait, I'm about to tell you. Listen to what I'm telling you. So we're allowed to kill the animals, but even in Shechita, we're allowed to. We caution everybody involved in the slaughter of animals to be careful and never to do any cruel things. You don't treat an animal cruelly. And if a person is cruel, we suspect them of not being Jewish. We're allowed to a person is cruel. We suspect that they're not Jewish. Something wrong with the guy. So you're not allowed to do it. But you should know one thing is a mistake that people say. They want to talk about it used to be we never ate meat. It's not true. Tosis is clear. What changed by Noah was only that we were allowed to kill the animals. But before Noah, we also ate meat. But only difference was like this: before Noah, we could only eat meat when the animal died. So there was only prohibition. Hashem said we're not allowed to take the limb, a limb that came off a living animal beginning. But if the animal died, we were allowed to eat it. The problem was the animals didn't belong to us. We'd be stealing. They didn't belong to us. After Noah, once Noah saved the whole world, the animals all became the possessions of man. Hashem allowed us. Now we had a right to even kill them, to eat them. But it's not true. They want to tell, oh no, that was a vegetarian world. It wasn't a vegetarian world. Just I guess meat was a little more expensive than it was later. Because you couldn't kill the animals.
Well, you also had to get it before it started rotting.
Yeah. I'm saying. I guess a little more. They have the same problem by alcohol, for example. According to I don't like anthropology, to tell you the truth. I love science, but I feel I've always felt anthropology is a mamish fake. They're dummies. I don't like them. They're so dotty. I feel it's a completely non-scientific. I mean, you can make your own judgments, but I can't stand these guys. Everything's an accident with them. Anyway, but anyway, so one of the when they study history, anthropology, and other things, they have also with alcohol. Where did it start? They said because certain fruits and they fall to the ground and they ferment. So they see that they see also that the monkeys were crazy for the fermented fruits. So the humans learned from the monkeys to go get the alcoholic fruits. Anyway, yeah, the whole thing's crazy. Anyway, that's the story. Okay, now we have a beautiful new pair. We are going to be talking about damages, but we open up with a beautiful different law of damage. Okay, if a person puts a cod down, now we usually translate. I want to explain something before we even start, so it'll be clear. In our world, when we say barrel, I think everybody in America thinks of these big wooden things, that a cooper makes. A cooper is a barrel maker. You should know, by the way, that there are unique tools for a cooper. And today they're all in museums. Coopers had a whole array of tools. You only see them in museums now. So, but it wasn't like that in the Gemara. A barrel and a cod, what they call a barrel and a pitcher. So they were almost the same. Just one was big and one was small. They're the same thing. It's not the barrels, these big wooden things. It's not those big wooden things and these earthenware things. The big ones, the bigger things were barrels. The smaller things were called cod. Generally, it's not. So get this American barrel out of your head, otherwise the whole thing doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's like right. They're both types of jars, really. Just one is bigger and one is smaller. If you want, interestingly enough, you should see, and I can't tell you which though. You'll see in Eretz Yisrael, there are certain places you can go where they have the ancient caves from the time of Hashmonaim, where they were hiding the oil from the oil was life. So they hid the oil in these caves. You had to crawl through these narrow openings to get to the oil. Oil was life. It was light, heat, cooking, food, everything. So there you could see the ancient containers. They still have them in the treasure storehouses. Okay, so now it says a guy put a card, which we'll call a picture now, down in the public domain. And somebody came and stumbled upon it, Ushvara, and he broke it. So there's two court cases here. One, Potter. Okay, so when he broke it, okay, he's exempt. We're going to see why in a minute. Being huzakba, but if he was damaged by it, the owner of the barrel has to pay for his damages. Okay, we see there's two cases. One is his damages, one is the damage of the thing. But you notice, obviously, it's hard to not notice that in midstream it changes from the language of what? From a pitcher to a barrel. What happened? The midstream changed horses in midstream. So the Gemara says right away, before the Gemara even gets into the law, the Gemara must notice the elephant in the room here. Pasach bekad b'siyim b'chavas. What happened? How did the Mishnah open with kad and end up with a barrel? How you took them? Utnan nami, and it's not the only time the Mishnah did it. The Mishnah did it in two other places. Utnan nami in a different Mishnah. Later on, we're going to learn the same thing. We learn Zebah b'chabisa. We'll learn the case later. This guy's coming through the public domain with his barrel. This guy's coming with his beam. And the barrel of this one was broken on the beam of that one. Potter, the beam guy, is exempt. Why? Because they both have a right to be there. We'll learn later. But the main point is what? Look what happened. What again? Pasach b'chavis. In this case, it opened up talking about a barrel, v'siyim b'kad, and then it changed it to what? To a pitcher. Tananami, another Mishnah. Okay, at the end of the Masechta we learn. Zeba b'chaviso shayayin. This guy came along with his chavis, his barrel of wine. B'zeba b'kado shel dvash. This guy comes along with his pitcher of what? Of honey. Okay, nistika chavis shel dvash. And now the barrel, the barrel, just changed the word. The barrel of honey became split. And this guy spilled out his wine because wine's cheaper than honey. And he saved the guy's honey into it. Ainlo, okay, the owner of the honey only has to pay Elischaro. Okay, he only has to pay the wine guy for his services as a worker, but he doesn't have to pay him for the wine. But that's not the point now. What's the main point? Again, for the third time, Pasach B'kad, it opened up with a pitcher, V'siyim b'chavis. So if the Tana does that three times, he's trying to tell me something. This is not a fluke. Okay, and some people learn that it's not because he did that. Three times, he's trying to give me a message over here. And they do all the time because remember I told you, that's the job of the Mishnah. The Mishnah is not a code book to the degree that the Chumash is. The Chumash is absolutely a code book, but the Mishnayos is a code book to a lesser degree, but similar degree because it's still a closed book. Okay, and therefore it's teaching me something by the way. Okay, what is that? Amrav Papa, what is the code that is coming to tell me? Hainu kad, hainu chabis. He says, don't worry. A kad and a chabis are really the same shape. They're essentially the same utensil. The only thing is one's big and one's small. He didn't say a kad and a chabis are identical. You be careful. You said when he says hainu kad, he means it's the same darn thing. Just one's bigger and one's smaller. That's all. There's no qualitative difference, only quantitative difference. I said lamai nafkamina. But now, what's the point? Okay, so then now. What's the point that the Tana has to tell me that Kad and Chabis are the same? The Papa says, you know why he told me that? You know why he told me why the Tana kept switching Kad and Chabis? You know what? Kad and Chabis are the same thing. No, thank you very much. And what does that tell me? Thank you very much. What do I have to know that for? The answer is the Mekach Memka, for the sake of business. Now, what does that mean? Okay, well, no, and it means like this. Let's say here, you and I contract. I want to buy. I say I'm going to buy a cod. And then what I say I want to buy a cod, and I acquired it with a sudar. I acquire it with a sudar. I gave you my scarf, and I acquire the goods. Now, but who is the money? In my pocket. I'm the buyer. Now comes time to deliver. I said, no, the big one. The guy says, no, you ordered a cod. I said, no, I want the big one. I want the chavis. We're going to see in a minute. I'm allowed to say to the guy, we're going to see in a second. I'm allowed to tell the guy, listen, buddy, you give me the big one, I'm not giving you the money. Money's in my pocket, you're not getting it. Or alternatively, the other way. Let's say I bought from the guy a chavis. I bought chavis from him, and I paid him, and now he has to deliver. He starts to deliver me the little one. I said, you give me the big one. He says, no. He says, I'm not giving you the big one. He says, he says, listen, you already paid me. Tough luck. You want the little one? Take it. It's not goodbye, Charlie. Exactly. It's a motzei chayil. That's the rule over here.
like
We're going to learn that there's a rule. Remember in the Torah, we have a rule called muhzar. When a person is possession, you have to have a strong. It's very hard to get something out of somebody's possession. If this buyer has the money, the seller can't get the money out of him, and if the seller has the product, the buyer can't get the product away from them.
Unless they have a contract.
Exactly. Well, unless the contract was clear. Here, and this is one of the things, by the way, and I tell people this all the time. Here, if you're a businessman, we're gonna spell it out in 1 minute. But if you're a businessman, watch out. Why? Because if you write a contract and the language could be interpreted some way, it's your problem. You know why? And I'm going to tell you why. Because you should have worried about it. You can't say, "Well, I'm here." If there's a legitimate way to interpret the language against you, they're gonna use it. Don't sign the paper. Yes. Don't sign the paper. Don't sign the paper. If there's a legitimate way to read the contract against you, don't sign it. You have to read the paper before you sign it. Yeah.
That's why you need a
Yeah. Okay. So now, what did we just learn over here? Now we're going to talk. Now we have to see where's the case where each guy has a right to claim that the language is like them and to protect their possession.
Well, some were like the word jar. There are huge jars and
Right.
because when
Right.
if everybody.
Oh, so give me a second. Now we're going to explain. The only question is like this: where's the case? What's the case? Each guy has a right to say, "I read like I read." It's not absolute. We explained the case. Now we'll explain only the details of the particular language. Let's take a look. Hey, Chidam, what's the case? How can you tell me that everybody has rights? If it's a place where nobody calls the little one a big one, a barrel, the chavis lo karakada, nobody calls the big one a little one. Halo Carlo, nobody calls it. I'm tough luck, buddy. You said cod. You're gonna you take a cod, and we'll take the money, and we'll take the money away from you. Tough luck. You the buyer, I don't care. We'll take the money out of your hands. You said it. That's what everybody says. Or the opposite. No, Gemara says low. I'll tell you. Here's the case. It's in the particular. The ruba karla, the kada chabisa. You're right. Most people call the little one a little one. They call the big one a big one. But however, the economic the karla chabisa kada. Some people call the big one a small one. Or the kada chabisa. Somebody call the small one a big. What we said is a big one. Mao de tema zil basa ruba. So you might have thought what? Because as a rule all over the Torah that we follow the majority. Okay, and they follow majority. Kamashmalani teaches me no. When it comes to, be careful. I was exact with my word. When it comes to violating a person's possession, we do not follow the majority. Be careful. I said it as carefully as I could. When it comes to violating a person's possession, we don't follow the majority. We follow the majority. There's lots of majority, but when to violate my possession, prove it or goodbye, Charlie. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm in possession. If I wasn't in possession, that's a different story. Okay, now. A different story. Okay. Now that we've dealt with the elephant, let's deal with the actual. Let's deal with the actual laws of damages. We said okay, another guy came and tripped on this guy. Now, one guy put down his barrel or whatever it is. He's walking the market. It's normal. It's a normal thing. You're carrying something here. He didn't put it down intending to do damage. You're carrying something. You put it down because you got to take a rest. You got to take a rest. Okay, but he's still responsible for his object. If somebody else comes and breaks it, they're exempt. Gemara says, "On my putter, why should the guy be exempt?" Like I said to you last week, the guy should look and walk at the same way. He should look at what he's doing while he's walking. Now, at this point, the Gemara accepts that as an axiom. People must look when they're walking. I'm sorry, there's no excuses, and you have to pay. And therefore, we have to give three cases. We give three different examples of why, even though we admit a guy should look where he's going, but there's three cases where he's not, where we can't say it to him. Why? Huh? Interesting point, by the way. We come to, but here we're talking about a normal guy who could look. We're saying anybody who could must. Okay, anybody who can must. So what is that? So then why is he exempt? There must be a special case where he wasn't obligated to look. What are the three cases? One, okay, the Bey Rab Mishvei Rab. So in the Yeshiva Rab they said in his name, but Memale Rishus Rabim Kula Chavios. It's where the whole he filled up the whole place. Okay, there was no place to go. Then you say he's exempt. If there's no place to go, he's exempt. That's opinion one. Shmuel Amar Bafei L'Shana. it's talking where it's so dark that it's cloudy and there's not even moonlight and there's not even starlight. Okay, so he's also exempt. There was no way to see. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, he said like this: the Karen's office. Okay, it's where it's on a place where now here the word Karen's office is different in different places. We had a different last week. Karen's office here means simply when you turn the corner. What does that mean? You know, when you turn a corner, it's too quick for you to get it. I'm going to tell you a true story. A number of years ago, there's a certain street in Yerushalayim that it's a long hill coming down, and then it makes a quick turn. You turn 180 degrees or almost 360 in a second. I had two teenage kids, and they were discovering that the world is not so nice as they thought it was. That's what happens when kids become teenagers. All of a sudden, you're innocent, and then you realize that the world's not so nice. And they were very devastated. Two teenagers. And we are arguing and fighting back and forth. I got two kids. It was hard for me. And we're screaming and yelling. I'm walking down the street yelling with my two kids, trying to straighten two teenagers out. And it just so turns at the bottom of that curve is a big outdoor restaurant. So there's like 100 people eating on the patio. So I'm coming down the street and my kids are screaming and yelling, and I'm screaming and yelling. And finally, as we make the turn, and I don't see it, I'm actually standing now. As we turn, I'm about to yell at my two kids, and I'm now facing 100 people eating in the patio outdoor of the restaurant. And I turn, not realizing it, I turn to all these 100 people screaming at my kids, and I say, "So what if most of the world is dead? You don't have to lay down and die with them." I'm trying to tell the kids, and the people in the restaurant are like like this, and I look at the kids, and the three of us break out laughing. The kids are crying. We were laughing till we cried. It was beautiful. Thank God. It was Hashem gave me the right moment to get through to my kids. Also, the kids just started laughing. Anyway, the rule is okay. So when you turn a corner, that's also that nobody can look. Nobody can recover themselves fast enough to do anything. And that's the same way, even though it was a little different case, similar to what I explained to you last week also. Now, okay, good. So those are the three cases. Amar of Papa. Yeah, we're gonna have this go. But generally, a person has to worry about even his deficiencies. You know, as long as you are a sane person, you're obligated to, even because you have a problem, and that Rabosai, present company skewed, all sorts of problems. People who are older have to worry about driving. By the way, you know that. Because you want to drive, it doesn't mean you're allowed to. It doesn't mean you're allowed to. I want to tell you two things quickly because I got time. Listen. Chazal tell us that in later times we're going to need a lot more Ari Miklat. What are Ari Miklat? We're going to leave cities of refuge. People who kill accidentally. We have to go to your Rebbe, right? So listen to this. Rabbi Goldberg, who I learned by, was Adam Gadol. So he used to say, he couldn't say, why all of a sudden there's going to be so many? Why are there going to be so many accidental murders? And then he realized it was cars. It was cars. You have to worry about it. And I want to tell you something. If you know people, listen to me. I'm telling you, if people don't drive properly, you must turn them in. Don't be a nice person. If a person doesn't drive properly, he breaks the law, turn him in. Turn him. That person is a bum. That person's a bum. And I'm going to tell you something. Rav Zilberstein, I know Rabbi Yasker has been teaching from a book of Rabbi Zilberstein. Listen to this case. I'm going to tell you a true case. Erev Yom Kippur, a guy comes to Rabbi Zilberstein, and he says, "I have a question. Maybe I have to do teshuvah." He said, "What's the question?" He says, "My son works with a truck. He delivers, and he has terrible shalom bayis problems. He has terrible problems with his wife. They're always on the verge of getting divorced. And he came to me sometime during this year, and it turned out that he drove. He's a sloppy driver. He breaks the rules all the time. In Israel, they have a point system. So he said he drove another time through the light. They caught him on the photo. They saw his license. He went through the red light, and they gave him more points, and he's going to lose his license." And my son came to me and he said, "Please, Daddy, go." They only have a picture of the license. "Tell him that you were driving, so I won't lose my license. If I lose my license, my wife's going to divorce me." So he said to the rabbi, he said, "I had mercy on my son. I went to the police and I told them I was driving, and I lied, and my son kept his license." So he said to Rav Zilberstein, "I want to know if I have to do teshuvah for lying to the police." He says, "Teshuvah for lying to the police? You have to do teshuvah for allowing your son to drive." He said, "He's a murderer. The guy, he's a rogue. He's killing people. You're not allowed to put your son on the street." And Rav Batzri, he's a Sephardic guy in Eretz Israel. He said, "I don't want anybody to go to the secular court for traffic violations. Why? They're too lenient." He said, I want all the traffic violators in Eretz Yisrael to come to my court so I can punish them properly. These guys are bums. They're dangerous.
This morning you said something about making peace between husband and wife.
Yeah, but not through murder. But not through murder. Not through murder. Exactly. Not through murder. Okay, you have to. Don't be nice. Don't be nice to people who are dangerous. You're not allowed to do it. It's also even if you love the person, you can't do it. You're not allowed to do it. It's murder. You got to be careful. You can't do it. Anyway, just a word from our sponsor, Rabbi. You can't do it. You can't do it. You know, and everybody should have life and health. You know, but don't do things that you're not allowed to do dangerous things. It's also okay. Now, furthermore, okay. So now, Amar Papalo Daika Masnisan Ela Oka Shmuel. The truth is, we had three opinions. He says our Mishnah only makes sense according to Shmuel, who said where it was dark, it was cloudy. Okay, they couldn't see. Oh, Rabbi Yochanan, cloudy night, or Rabbi Yochanan. Or like Yochanan said also that he there was no time, he turned the corner. Rav, but he said the Mishnah doesn't make sense according to Rav, where the whole place was filled with barrows. He says, my area, he says, why should it be what Nitkal, what should it be that if he tripped that it's only if he tripped that he's exempt. Afilu shabar. He says when the whole thing's filled up with barrels, he says he doesn't have to trip to be exempt. He can break them purposely. Not me. He can break them. Why? Okay, he should be able to break them. The guy had no right to. Whatever the guy took over the public domain. He should break them and walk through. Rav Zabi Mishmei de Rava. Rav Zabi said the name of Rava who adin dafilu shabar. He says you're right. That's right. The guy even had a right to break them, and that's why I told you don't daven in the corridors of the shul. You're not allowed to daven in the pathways. The pathways are for people to walk. You're not supposed to be davening there. You're not supposed to be there. It's not your place. I dictoni. I'm not yelling at you. But I love you. Okay. But I dictoni. He says nitkal. I said, why did it say trip to truth? If it's full of barrels, he should even have a right to break them. I did the boy lemiste safe. I'll tell you why. Because he only wrote tripping because he wanted to accommodate the second case. Nitkal. Okay. What? Because he says what? Dafka nitkal. When is it that what? It's dafka if he fell. I will shabar. Okay, low. Why? Because in the second, in the second case, a shenit. Okay, is the second case where what? I'm sorry, I didn't read it. If he got damaged, then the owner has to pay him. When is it? Then it's only dafka nitkal. When does the owner of the barrel have to pay him? When he tripped. I will shabar low. If he broke it, he doesn't have to pay him. My timer, who does it? He damaged himself, even though he had a right to break the barrel, but he didn't. But it's still his problem if he gets damaged. Kartani ratio. Okay. Nitkal. So I wrote Nitkal since both cases could only be true in the case of tripping, even though the first one could also be breaking, but you use one word to accommodate both cases for economy. Okay, have a uvdabar nada. Probably now. Everything we set up with I'm about to say the right word. Everyone up until now we had an axiom. What's the axiom? You must watch where you're going. You are obligated for not seeing. That was the opinion of here. But we said what? But the only thing is like this. He says, Amar le Rab Abba le Rabashi, Hachem B'Marava. He says, in Eretz Yisrael they say differently. Mishmei Rabula. I did read that. That I did read. He damaged himself. That's the difference. In the Seifa, it's only if he fell, because even if he had a right to break it, but if he hurt himself when he broke it, he damaged himself. That's I did read that. Now, the next one, Amar le Rabbi Abba le Rabashi. That's in Baba. But in Eretz Yisrael, Mishmei Rabula, this is what they say in Eretz Yisrael, the name of Ula or Rabbi Loi. Okay, no, it's not true. Human beings have a mind and they think, and it's not true that a person has to see everything. They can walk down the street, they have a right to walk down and think, and a person is not obligated. It's not, you're right. It's not really true. Okay, and therefore what? And therefore what? Even if it was daytime, etc., etc. We don't have to say all these special cases. You can read the Mishnah normally, even in a normal case. A person has a right to be walking as he has things on his mind, and he didn't see it. You put an obstacle there, and he's still exempt. Okay. How about we have to talk about. I'm not sure. We have to talk about who responds which case and what's the one. I'm not sure. These little thoughts. It's a good question. It's a very good question. Okay. Have we moved to Nardoa? So now there was a case in Nardoa where somebody walked normally and broke the kalim, okay, around him. Shmuel obligated him and said, "What? No, what? You're supposed to know where you're going." But Pumbedisa, there was a case in Pumbedisa, the Chiyav Rabbah, and Rabbah obligated the person. Says the Gemara, Bishlam Shmuel. I understand Shmuel obligated a person. Kishmaise, it makes sense because in the Mishnah he said it was dafka when it was a dark night, a cloudy night. But Al Rabbah, he says what? He says, Lema Kishmuel. Should I say that Rabbah also holds like Shmuel? Rav Papa says no. I don't necessarily have to say it. Why? Because the case was really a special case. You know what the case of what the case of Rabba was? It was a case of Kana the Atzahavi. It was a case of a corner, okay, next to a press, or like the oil press or the wine press. Why? Because it's normal there. The process was on these corners here, since there's such a big crowd, everybody's always putting their barrel. They're waiting for the next guy. It's a public agreement that people put their barrels out in the street.
It's like a construction zone.
Yeah. The cave and the Rishus Ka'avde, since they do it with permission, that's the decree of the community. Then he should be looking. It's really he could hold what. Really, really he could hold what. Really he could hold what that the person doesn't have to normally look. But in this case, he has to look because the whole community agreed that the obstruction should be there. Sholach le Rav Chisda Rav Nachman. Now, you know that we know that we pay for embarrassment. We're going to see in a second, but embarrassment, it's a fine. What do you pay? So the rabbis set prices. Now there's somewhat of an argument about this. Because usually embarrassment follows, depends. How do you pay embarrassment? If a very prestigious person hurt a person who's unprestigious, or unprestigious, or a little whippersnapper snapped the big guy. So what do you do? So one of the ways here is to say no. The fines that we're about to learn are either the minimum or the maximum. Okay, no, and then there's other adjustments. So to make it simple, but we said what? They said what? You see, so Rav Chisda asked this question of Nachman. I know that the rabbis have made it set fine, either minimum or maximum. The Rakuba, if a guy hit a guy with his knee, which must be a martial artist, okay, shalosh, he has to pay 3 salas for embarrassment. Libaita, a coin. See, a seller. Yeah, see, 3 salas, for embarrassment. Libaita, for kicking the guy, okay, which is even more embarrassing, chamesh, he has to pay 5 salas. Ulisinokas, and for the saddle of a donkey, shloshes, it's really embarrassing, 13 salas. But he says that I know. He said, but this I don't know. Lepando de mar, if he hits him with the handle of the shovel, Ulukupina de mar, hits him with the metal of the shovel. How much do you pay? Sholachle, he says back to him. He sent him a different. He says chizda. He says, what are you talking about? Kanasa magwis b'mabel. Remember, I asked you. Remember, we come out with b'mabel. What are you collecting fines in Babylonia? Remember, you learned earlier. We don't collect fines in Babel. We in Babel. We are the proxies of the judges of Israel for other things, but not for fines. He said, look, tell me the exact case. Tell me what happened. What was like this? There was a water hole that was owned by the 2 guys, and they're called yomi. So they had an arrangement. They both owned it. Well, Sunday this guy would take, Monday this guy would take, every day alternatively. One of them came. He started drawing water when it wasn't his day. He's stealing. Amarle said the guy whose day it was. He says Yom Didi. He said it's my day. The first guy didn't pay attention. Shakal Panda Demara. So he took the handle of the shovel, and he smacked him. That's the case. I want to know how much he should pay. Amarle, he says, Meya Pande. He says he made a pun. A pun is a smack. He says smack him 100 smacks. He says with the shovel. He should hit him 100 smacks with the shovel itself. He says. Okay, and what? And it's no problem. Why? Because somebody's stealing from you. Somebody's stealing from you. You're allowed to hit him. Why is that? As long as you can't recover, you can hit him 100 times with the shovel. He says, even though we're going to learn tomorrow. Okay, that is an argument. There's an argument. You have to go to court for your rights, or you're allowed to take your right to yourself. You got to take the law into your own hands or not. It's a machlokas. But even the opinion that says what? That you don't take the law into your own hands. But when you're going to lose it, like here, if you don't get your water, it's gone. It's gone. You can never get it back. Even the opinion that says you're not allowed to take the law in your own hands, here holds you allowed to. Let him hit him 100 times. Tomorrow we'll learn the exciting argument of whether you're allowed to take the law into your own hands. Everyone have a wonderful day.
We touched on it earlier. If you put the best metaltalin, you take them, they don't take them back.
Yeah. Check off.
All right, it would be a better story if you knocked over a table.
Hey.
Oh, that was his personal story. But you're still taking cups. But you're still taking cups. Oh, I mean, seriously.
How much is a cup?
It's either $20 a year or $1 a time. We don't, it's a low plug, whatever you take. If you
Ted,
bring your own popcorn,
Ted,
If I bring my
you have to know American, in order to answer your question, we have to know American law.
What, should I bring my
Another
own
way,
water?
honestly,
No,
seriously, no,
what if
here,
it's
to
not
what
ours?
degree was the city obligated to fix it? Not obligated. You have to see, is there somebody to take to court here? Yeah, you have to know American law.
In New York City, you have to have
do.
potholes, registered potholes. So the lawyers on their way to
Wow.
work, on the way to work, not marking down where the potholes are.
No, give it to Heshy.
That's what I want to know. My insurance, yeah, look, that's my question. I have home insurance. Now, if for 3 people fall, there's, per year, there's a coverage. So I want to know, when I bring the person to fall, how much does he get? How much do I get?
I'm saving you.
That's what kind of deal you made with them.
But I'll tell you about the freeze rider. Yeah. Yes, he did, very nice. I will try and find it intentionally. I think it's a PDF. I can send you on the, you're on the email, right? Yeah. I'll send you an email. Let me try to remind you. Okay, I'll try to send you. I think it's a PDF. I can send. It's my pleasure. God bless. Feel better. Better. Yeah, what was it?
How am I gonna do if I do it? Well, we're leaving you Sunday anyway. Got a function, my granddaughter's getting married this month.
Oh, that's the problem. You got it.
Patterson. Washington, the art warehouse in Patterson.